to go up, probably use Flexicon. You got any tips, Nick? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We've, as you can probably tell, just completed a full rewire, 3-bed semi-detached property. We didn't get any footage of us actually doing the work. Just a bit of a mad rush. We've just done it all this week and got it finished, ready for the owner to move back in. She actually moved out whilst we was doing it, which is a big help, as you can imagine. So I'll give you a little tour of the property, try and explain what we've actually done, what's what, and stay tuned. So as you walk in the main entrance, we've got a 3-gang switch to the right. She kindly left us a little description of what she wanted. So we've got 2 two-way switches for the up and down the stairs. We've got one that does this light, which the customers did supply, and one that does the upstairs light, and that's the same at the top of the stairs. I'll show you that in a minute. And we've got one that does the outside porch lights, which I'll show you now. Sweet van. So we've got 2 up and down lights either side of the door. Give you a little have a look at that. I suppose that'll look pretty good. When we did quote for this job, I did actually only price for 1 light, planning on putting it on the outside of this here. Then when it comes to actually starting the job, I realised that I think that'd look a bit odd. There's not really much space there. So then I decided I'd put an up and down light there. Realised it'd look a bit odd on its own, so I've just added one both sides. Free of charge, of course. Just to help with the OCD. So what we'll do, we'll start upstairs. So we've got used the oval conduit on the double socket at the bottom. There was one there originally, she didn't want that. And patched that one back up. That's gone. Just make sure I've not got dirt on my feet because I've tidied up in here. Again, any lights that are not pendant, such as this one, the customers kindly left them here for us to fit. Bathroom was already actually renovated about a year ago, so the wire into these lights and fan stayed. We've not touched them. One does the lights, other one does the fan, as she wanted. It did say something here about the separate from the lights, please, blah blah blah, and lower it a bit. Fan isolator up top, that was already there. We've just changed the face plates of them, and obviously we've resupplied these lights with the new lighting feed. So it's all brand new now. Upstairs we got quite lucky, there's a lot of just plasterboard walls, so double socket, switch, and she wanted it over there. Eco smoke alarm, we only ever use Eco stuff, much better. So again, that does that switch, and down at the bottom, don't know if you can see that. So that's that, pretty straightforward. This room, pretty basic. Again, she supplied that light. One double socket, and it's only a little box room, and one socket up there for TV. Inside here, her boiler's getting moved into this cupboard. So she just wanted a supply for the boiler in there, which is just on its own circuit, just a 10 amp radial, 2.5, just in case it ever gets changed for anything else, really. And in this room, switch, moved over, switch there, and then just 2 sockets, one either side of the bed. So there was an existing socket there, but she wanted a USB socket there, and on this side of the bed, it's just another double again. Plasterboard walls. Floors were a bit of a nightmare, it's all chipboard. So there's not much going on down here. One double socket there. Switch has been moved to the other side of the door because this is going to get hung the other way. Excuse me. Door, light, and another double socket down at the bottom. The brick walls in this house, the external walls, was an absolute nightmare. It was like hollow brick, so you had about 10 mil for chasing, and then it'd just fall to bits, and it'd have like 100 mil void behind it. 2-way light, again she supplied that. It did have one of those fancy plaster rose type things up there. She asked me to remove that if I could, and I could. That's on a 2-way from here. And this room's got 8 double sockets. There's one behind that radiator, which is nicely propped against the wall. One down here, USB. We've got a socket for this little plug-in fire. There's a socket behind that couch, which we managed to use the existing capping and fish right down without damaging anything. And the same again here, we managed to fish right down the capping that was already there and put 4 double sockets behind the TV. Obviously I'm not the best plasterer, but I've just patched up what I could. Then the plasterer can come and sort that out. It just allows us to actually screw sockets back without them having flapping around. So I'll just fill bits in like that, as you can tell. Which I think is a good idea. I'll show you the mains board in a minute. Again, look like this, we've got the capping. We just put a bit of that in, plasterer can give it a second fill, just allows us to screw back properly. So we've got one switch for that light, one switch for that light, Eco heat alarm, lovely socket right through the middle of the clock. Clock's now forever at 12:30. Kitchen, we have the cooker switch with a socket, that's on a 6 mil radial. Double socket there, that plug is actually the boiler, which as you know is getting moved up into the airing cupboard. And there's a double socket, I'll show you that from behind. Double socket around the back of there. This is getting retiled, obviously. We've got a socket for the extractor hood. We've got one socket surface mounted in the back of there. This thing just pops off, all covered. For the washing machine, socket under the sink for the dishwasher, and a little socket in the tightest possible little cupboard you could ever imagine working in, which does the fridge. This is kind of like in the temporary, because the kitchen is eventually going to be moved over to that side, which will then be more work. I've done the kitchen sockets on a 32 amp ring, and the upstairs sockets, I'll show you that on the mains board anyway. Did you catch me little parting? When we're doing a full rewire, we always do stuff like this because a little thank you for letting us wreck your house. As you can see, it's pretty much spotless. It smells lovely in here. I'd like to take credit for it, but we brought a cleaner in this morning. Tenant owner is moving back in this afternoon. We're not actually finished in the garage, and I'll show you why. Outside lights. Outside double socket, click range, a nice big bright floodlight, PIR We used a little whisker box at the back of it. That's an NVC Odessa 50 watt, and as you can, like I said, we've got a supply going into the garage. I'll show you that in a sec. And we're going to be putting a 20 watt Odessa there, pointing down the driveway. The supply for the garage is a 6mm armoured coming out of there, up and in. And let me just open this garage and I'll you know, look at this bit here, hey? Probably all asbestos roof and whatever. So in here, what I have done is I've just mounted a nice bit of wood on there. That's our 6mm, runs in. It's going to go straight into the top of a small fuse box board. Reason the garage isn't done is because we haven't received the fuse box board, even though we ordered it around 4 weeks ago. But from here, we're going to be using, I'm going to put a 4-way board on, 2 spare ways. We're just going to have a socket mounted on the board next to it, just a double socket, and a lighting supply. It's going to go up, probably use Flexicon. You got any tips, Nick? Anyway, Flexicon up around wherever we can, straight out of there, whisker box on the back, 20 watt MVC Odessa, that's going to point down the driveway. And we're going to put a switch there next to the board on a 2-way with a switch over there, and just a 4-foot LED batten up there. I'll try and get some footage of us actually doing that. That's all our mess from the rewire. Show you the mains board now. Meter box is outside there. It's a TNS supply, TNS earthing arrangement, should I say? Not TNS. PME arrangement. Let me know in the comments if you think that's a good idea. Like, for the sake of £10, I think on a job of a full rewire is a nice little sweetener, don't you think? Got one of our mugs with a bit of hot chocolate in, biscuits, that, so it doesn't stink of building work in here, and a candle, a couple of business cards. Can't go wrong. So this is the new mains cupboard. This is the stuff for the garage when it comes. Switch, just a bit of trunking floor to ceiling, and then I've built out the mains board from there. Them MVC Odessas, they come with the little remote, which is pretty cool because you can override the PIR if you ever sat in the back garden. Change all the settings, which is good. I've wired the I put this on there just for any future electricians to compare to. I've also put it on the actual board. It's on a spur. It is fed off the lighting feed, but because it's just a permanent feed going outside, I didn't want to wire. It's just outside above here, comes from under the floor, straight out the wall into the whisker box. Because it's outside, I didn't want to wire the permanent lighting feed in and out of that whisker box. In case there's ever in future any water ingress or anything like that, it'll obviously trip the downstairs lighting circuit. I mean, the lights are going to be off, aren't they? So I decided to wire the lighting feed through this, and if there's ever any issues with water getting in that whisker box and it trips the breaker, it can easily be disconnected from there and get your lights on. So mains board cover, we've got all the labelling as you can tell. I've left the garage supply locked off because the end's obviously not finished. Bit twisted, them breakers. Fuse box, SPD, full RCBO board. So we've got SPD, garage supply, cookers on a 6mm radial, kitchen is on a 32 amp ring, downstairs and upstairs sockets are just 16mm radials, boiler supply 10mm, upstairs lights and smoke detector, downstairs lights. Obviously I'm going to get some stick for putting smoke detectors on the lighting circuit. Some people don't like it, I prefer it because you can't just turn them off or they can't trip and you wouldn't know about it. At least if the lights trip, obviously the owner will know that it's tripped. That can actually go off. It's not in use yet. I'm a bit annoyed that fuse box changed that little logo, because that one really stands out, as well as the MCBs. I'll put so I think this cupboard in general is a lot tidier. It's all rear entry and just looks nice and tidy, I think, compared to what it was before. If anyone's spotted that bit of capping, that's not us, that's some of the old stuff. All of our stuff comes up and down this. I'll put a picture in the top corner now of the old cupboard, the old fuse box, a couple of them. Garage was fed on like a 2.5 or 1.5 radial. It weren't even armoured, I think it was high tough or something. So that's the MVC Odessa. Excellent lights, them. Absolutely love them. So that's pretty much it. We've done a bit of patching up where we can. I think we've left the place pretty clean, considering yesterday this was just like this much dust. Right guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell. See yous all on the next video.